Hi guys, back again. Okay, I wanted to really talk about something that kind of harks back to our last video in terms of love is a choice. And someone talked to me about this, about is it that simple? Love is a choice, really? It has to come along with some kind of feeling. And I kind of really thought about that. I've been thinking about it, and I thought about, what about doing experimental behavior? And because words don't teach, you can listen to this and you can think, oh, that's interesting, but they actually don't cut the mustard. Words just kind of come in and they go out, and you kind of go, oh yeah, you resonate with it or you don't. But really, it's not until you challenge yourself to do something, to actually have an experience, because your experiences will teach you everything you need to know. And it's like anything. Until you do it, you don't know. So you might think you like fishing, but until you go fishing, you don't know whether you like it or not. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes, and I think back in my life, I think there's things I thought I wouldn't like that when I've done them, I've really liked them. So you have to challenge yourself to do things. And for me, it's about, okay, I want to challenge people. I want to challenge you to start choosing to love yourself anyway. Now, I think this is for all of us on the planet. We have all been kind of conditioned to not like parts of ourselves. So just keep it within us. Forget everything outside us for a moment. Let's just come back to us. Think about you, your body, the way you look, the things about you that you love, that you don't like, that you really hate. Excuse me. And I want you to think about something, in terms of you, like something about you. Maybe you don't like the way your skin, your hair, sometimes you just, whatever. It can be anything, your nails, your feet, anything at all. Pick something that you really perhaps don't really like about yourself. And this is the challenge for you. I want you to choose to love that part of you anyway. Even though you don't like it, you don't want it, you liked it to be different, you like it to change, I want you to love it on purpose anyway. So choose to love it. So I choose to believe it's safe to love blank. I choose to believe it's safe to love blank. And I choose to love this part of me, even though I don't always like it, I don't like the way it looks, I don't like the way it feels, and I'm not happy about it. I'm going to choose to love that part of me anyway. And just see what happens. See, I need to encourage people to actually go out there and experience stuff, and then that experience will teach you, actually, because I know I've done it. I've talked about the past. I hated myself. I hated everything about me. I hated everything about me. There wasn't one thing I liked. I wanted to rub myself out. And as I got better and better, obviously, the more I've done this, and I've chosen to love the parts of me, even though I never liked my legs. For me, they're always a bit too thick, heavy set. I wanted skinny legs, I wanted thin legs. And I remember, it's so interesting what you remember as a kid, isn't it? I remember I was in middle school, so I was probably 10, 11. And I was in a running race with this other girl, and we were the best runners in the class. And I remember this little boy saying, I thought you were going to win that race, because I didn't have stamina, because I didn't know how to breathe. No one had taught me you have to pace yourself in breathing, and I'd run out of breath and have to stop. And I remember this little boy, he was only little, he said, I thought you were going to win that race, Stella, because your legs are bigger than hers. And I remember thinking, oh my God. And that some little boy, he didn't mean it as an insult. He genuinely thought I was going to win the race because my legs were bigger than hers. It was hilarious. But in that moment, I felt mortally offended and humiliated. I felt embarrassed. It was like I didn't hear what he really meant, which was, just something, his logic. I felt like he was criticizing, because I was so insecure and deeply offended and wounded. I mean, it doesn't matter what he'd have said, I've taken it the wrong way. I think that's the trouble when you're insecure. And so, as I've grown older, I really appreciate my legs. I've learned to love them more and more and more, because at one point I rejected them, I hated them, I didn't like them, I didn't like the way they looked. And so as I've grown older, but as then even the last 5-10 years, I've actually chosen to really appreciate and love my body. And it's made a big difference. I know when I used to look in the mirror, I didn't like anything I saw. And that was a deeply wounded young woman. As I've grown and developed, but I think you can... Now, it's interesting because I want someone out there, probably you, whoever's watching, to actually do this on purpose when you're in a place where you really don't like something. So you don't have to go all that time in between like I did, learning to like and love myself. Can you fast track this? Can you choose on purpose to choose to love myself and really appreciate the fact that you have 2 legs and they work and they're strong and they're capable and they're, solid and they keep you grounded and they help you get from A to B, and, can you really appreciate and learn to love? And so can you do it on purpose? Can you? I challenge you to start loving your bits, your parts on purpose, and appreciate, because nothing's all good or all bad. Being pear-shaped, for example, a lot of women are more apple-shaped, aren't they? And they're more broader in the shoulder and more narrow at the hips. I can't remember what you call those people. And so to appreciate all of you just the way you are, because I do think we've been conditioned to hate on ourselves something wrong. And of course it's the media, it's what we see, it's these glamorized women that are flawless and perfect and no cellulite, no fat, no nothing, flawless skin, not a pore. And I do realize we've been taught that everything's got to look perfect, we've got to be perfect. And so the outcome of that is we reject and we don't like ourselves and we don't love ourselves. And that's the tragedy, that we're all left. And they did this survey, and I don't know, it was one of those things you watch and listen to years and years ago. 95% of women are not don't like themselves. I think it was a Dove advert, when they put out all the different women's bodies and stuff. And we've been so heavily conditioned to actually reject anything that isn't perfect. And I see that even, when I watch things, I'm like, oh, that's not what we've been conditioned to believe is good and okay. And so I have to check myself, because I'm the only one I can do. So I challenge you. Choose to love a part of yourself that maybe you really didn't like before. Or maybe, there's a few things about you. I choose to love and appreciate me just as I am, completely and wholly. And do it on purpose every day for a month. And see, maybe take a score at the beginning of the month. How much do I love and appreciate the different parts of me, or whole part, or myself as a whole? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you score yourself 4 or 5. And then after a month of doing it and saying it, and I choose to believe... I choose to believe that it's safe for me to love myself completely and wholly. And I wonder if we don't think it's safe. I wonder if there's a part of us that says we shouldn't be satisfied with what we are, with who we are. Because let's face it, you need to be dissatisfied, so you buy all the products, So when you see a product that says, oh, this is going to help you lose weight, or, have flawless skin or shiny hair, they're all over that. You see, we are conditioned to be dissatisfied. So to rewrite that conditioning, I choose to believe it's safe for me to appreciate and really love myself just as I am. And I wonder, at the end of the month, you could score yourself, how much do I love and appreciate those parts or myself generally in whole? Because I want to help people feel better about themselves, just feel good about themselves. And I know the difference when you got this working against you, you feel like crap, you feel like never enough. Whereas when you've got this working for you, you see, you have to cultivate a healthy mindset of self that's your friend, your mentor, your coach. And as you develop that and the mind starts working for you and with you, then you will feel so much better. So what have you got to lose? Absolutely nothing. So I challenge you, do an experimental exercise and see what happens. And I'll see you. And if you want to let me know how you got on, please do. I'd love to know. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.